Hello and welcome to this week's analysis. This week we talk about Sonnet 73, a poem by William Shakespeare. A sonnet is simply a 14-line poem, usually with a certain number of rhyme schemes and with 10 syllables per line. The sonnet has 3 quatrains, that means a division of 4 lines in 3 parts. And in the first to the 12th line, here the speaker talks about himself, how he's getting old, and that he doesn't like the idea. In line 13 and 14, he introduces a new idea. This idea is not really related with the first 12 lines, where he tells someone he is talking to that he's going to die soon, and that the other person needs to treasure their love a little bit more. In this sonnet, the poet uses different metaphors for each of the quatrains. For instance, in the first quatrain, the main idea here is about the changing of the seasons, where he compares himself, the middle-aged man he is, to the trees that are losing their leaves in the fall. And then in the second quatrain, he changes this imagery. Now he compares himself to a fading sunset. In the third quatrain, he changed things up again, and this time he's comparing himself to the last glow of a fire in the process of burning out. Now, throughout all these 3 quatrains, we do not actually hear about his lover or even the person the speaker is talking about or talking to. But when he concludes at the end, in the last couplet, there comes a surprise whereby we sort of discover a hidden receiver of this message, or someone that he is talking to, probably somebody he loves, and this message is meant for this person, and it tells him to treasure the love they have together a little bit more. Shakespeare presents this sonnet in 3 quatrains. We're going to talk about quatrain by quatrain, but most important is to understand what every line means in this sonnet. So the first line, the speaker tells us that we can see the passage of time on his face or on him. So he says, you can see that time of the year in me. That means we can see how time has passed when we look at him. He's definitely here introducing the idea of age. In the second line, he tells us that we should think, or he sees his life as in the autumn phase. We know this by the mention of the yellow leaves. Probably winter has ended. It is now autumn. The few leaves that are hanging on the tree are yellow. And here the autumn mentioned is a metaphor for his middle age, or the juicy part of his life that is gone and is not there anymore. It has fallen just like the leaves on the trees. In the third line, the speaker introduces us to the idea of the leaves hanging off the boughs, or rather the limbs of the trees that have been shaking in the cold. Here he's comparing himself to a tree, as the limbs of his body, and the cold here represents death or even sickness, anything that may happen to an old person. In other words, he means that his limbs are shaking against the cold. In the fourth line, the speaker describes the boughs mentioned in line 3, which shake against the cold. He mentions that the branches are bare and ruined, and in this case, choir means the wooden chairs in the church. They are empty, they are bare. The members of the choir are the sweet birds that sing there. Birds here might mean his youthful charm, and so are the leaves. This basically means that the choir is bare, his youth is gone. He uses the word late to mean recently, and the general idea here is that the speaker is amazed and shocked at how recently he was young and how time passes quickly. That marks the end of the first quatrain. The rhyme scheme of the first quatrain is AB, AB. In the second quatrain, line 5, here he is telling us that he's talking to someone. He compares himself to a time of the day and not a time of the year, as we have seen in the first quatrain. When you look at him, you can see some dim light, some light and not total darkness. In line 6, he means that a last bit of the day that is fading after the sun has already set in. It means that this light is fading, just like, when the sun sets in the west, the remaining light, the little light after sunset. In line 7, now that the sun has already set, but there is a small little glow remaining at the horizon, it shows that the daylight is fading. The black night is increasing and taking away the day, or rather, he means soon it's going to be over. In line 8, he introduces the idea that death has a second self, a personification of death. Death will take away life. Death is the final decider of every person. The rhyme scheme of this second quatrain is CD, CD. In the third quatrain, line 9, he tells his lover that there is something to be seen in him, that there is a small fire within him. A very soft, subtle glow is still there. In line 10, he says that his youth is the fuel for the fire that is now burning up and reducing to ashes. Personification is used here as well, and fire is personified. So after the fire is finished, the ashes are the proof of his life that he has already lived. In line 11, the remnants of the fire burning on top of the ashes gets compared to a person on their deathbed. He is sure that there is an expiry date. Like the fire's first light, then the ashes, which lead to the end, is similar to his deathbed. In line 12, the glowing of the fire which originally nourished it or kept it in existence because of the wood that was burning is now the one that is extinguishing the fire. So the fire is eating itself, so we can say. The third quatrain ends there. The rhyme scheme of the third quatrain is EF, EF. We are left with a couplet, the last two lines, line 13 and 14. Here we see a completely new idea introduced by the speaker. He makes it clear for the first time that he is talking about love. He says to the lover that all the things she just saw in the previous lines will make the love better or stronger. The speaker here is telling his lover that their love will become stronger when the speaker will not be around anymore, that his lover will love him and cherish him even more. He means that even though life is just about to end or life does not last forever, their love will actually last forever. The rhyme scheme of the last two lines is GG.